Hello there. I call this one the letter to the FBI. I never thought I'd have to do this, but it looks like a critical moment here has been brought to my attention that there could be terrorist cells operating even within elected officials in our government, possibly planning to attempt to overthrow a United States election, assisted by combat ordnance style intimidation. Not only is this by exact definition terrorism collectively, individually it exposes one of humans' deepest character flaws. So for my own legal protection against the future investigations, and even just to show my son how to deal directly with trouble and stand up and be counted, I, Lightnin Malcolm, am compelled to tell the whole world, here and now, I have never and would never, ever coordinate or associate in any way with the attempting to overturn a United States election, with or without armed intimidation tactics, ever. I'm an American ambassador of American music and American goodwill worldwide. All civil-minded, intelligent people should respect secure elections results, especially in an election where a president has exhausted every investigative resource to ensure one of the most secure and carefully tabulated elections in history. Multiple recounts were done, no expense was spared, critical time was consumed, lives were even threatened. This president and Republican Senate have shown the world before that they had the power and unique connections to even stonewall United States federal subpoenas when they needed to. But now they can't seem to find any evidence to their benefit, or it would have been immediately brought before the courts. During multiple crises of pandemic and a dangerous infrastructure hack by our strongest enemy, this seems like an inhuman misappropriation of funds and resources, but the wasteful spending in this case actually helps even further to secure and completely erase any future doubt or slanderous claims about our election. Both parties had key victories. Both did well. And all Americans should celebrate that we never have to question the outcome of this election. We only have to question what we do with it. Who are we? More importantly, this thorough conclusion clearly delineates the calculated, illegal, or treasonous intent of decision required to even attempt to overturn our election or even delay the transfer of power. This is not a partisan thing. All Americans are dangerously exposed. Pro-life, pro-border control, pro-military. Our troops, especially stationed abroad, are certainly all terrified by the delays and blocking of getting our new United States administration in position. Vital, complex security safety measures have to be in place immediately. We've alienated many of our alliances worldwide and are under hack by our strongest enemy. And in a pandemic, we're in a dangerously vulnerable position, and the whole world knows it. Somebody suggested the Russia investigation was an attempt to overturn the election. This has bothered me. First of all, if you're innocent, you always want the investigation to clear your name. Having the responsibility of addressing treasonous activity is not trying to overturn an election. It's following the law and your sense of duty. Trump was given an extremely cooperative transfer, even though we now know The FBI's standard enemy surveillance patterns had already picked up back channels of the Trump administration or campaign at that time communicating with Russia about sensitive classified material and subjects. When the FBI tried to warn the incoming Trump campaign to protect them, they lied to the FBI. This isn't speculation. This has been carefully, well documented all the way to presidential pardons. The outgoing administration was forced to hide this from the American public because the instability and grave danger of not getting an upcoming administration in place, no matter how compromised, was far more dangerous. This was treasonous liability. This was a treasonous liability that the Trump campaign brought with them. Of course you get spied on if you're on back channels with our enemy. You don't get to blame someone else for that. That's your fault. The impeachment trial. Is that overturning an election? The impeachment trial was not about one incident or one phone call. It was a coordinated misappropriation of crucial congressionally approved military funds in a highly strategic location, leveraged through back channels, not the legal, proper state channels, into an attempted public scandal of Trump's political rival, polling well ahead of Trump from the time he entered the race until election day. The plot was only stopped by career patriots who stepped up and exposed the corruption. Heroes whose lives were threatened and careers upended. Once exposed, the president confirmed his plot, not on wiretaps by spies or hidden recordings, but from the White House on national television for the whole world to see. At that point, the House of Representatives themselves could be held criminally liable if they didn't impeach. Senate Republicans' impeachment performance was, in my opinion, so disbarring that it couldn't even be reviewed by the world afterwards. There were no highlight instant replays on the news in the following days. It was like watching water run upstream. After blocking all the evidence they could, the Senate Republicans finally maintained, yes, he's guilty. But when the crime was exposed and stopped prior to completion, somehow that makes him innocent and the charges can be dropped. He's not innocent, but it's not illegal. Which brings us to our current situation. Our latest midnight deal at the crossroads with the devil. Just because an attempt to overturn our election can't possibly succeed doesn't make trying it less treasonous. If anything, it could be argued it's more treasonous. You know, it's so outrageous, it's unthinkable. It's not a defense afterwards. I mean, it's like you're begging to be made an example of here. You know, if a bank is known to be too secure to be robbed, it's still illegal to try. But even if you could somehow exploit or manipulate some hidden technicality or legal loophole in the system or some personal switcheroo, even if Mike Pence walks off a crucifix into boiling holy water, even if somehow this hypothetically succeeded, it would be the idealistic equivalent of a burglar manipulating the system and suing his victims because he broke his toe. Elections can be disappointing. Nobody's more disappointed in this last election than me. I was stunned at the dichotomy of character of the parties. The final numbers were shocking and terrifying to me, especially in the Senate. I'm still in disbelief. That ideals so openly capitalizing on our darkest resentments, so openly exploitative and even predatory by very nature, could post so high in a country I live, love, represent, and thought I knew. Trust me, I would have loved for voter fraud to have been proven, although we've never seen it reach 1% in our lives, I don't think. Maybe that would explain this radical bend backwards, away from scientific fact, even rudimentary rules of civic behavior. But it turns out voter fraud was not to blame. Upon reflection, the idea that someone would be foolish enough to connect their name, address, information to a traceable felony charge with no personal deliverable for them, I mean, that's so absurdly amateurish, it nearly escapes full appreciation. Whoever came up with that one doesn't lie for a living. They're just doing it for fun. Elections can be disappointing. A few years ago, I watched a guy with no tangible career we really knew of, and service is a word that would run the other direction, virtually incapable of understanding even simple legal functions or a simple sustainable policy ideas, lose by 3 million votes only to squeak out a victory with a few thousand votes strategically placed that would radically change the trajectory and the world standing of the country I live and love. A man every living president, especially from his own party, said no matter what, do not vote for this guy. Some of the highest pillars of his own party said, no matter what else happens, dear God, don't let this man attend my funeral. Do you know how bad of a person you must be to get barred from people's funerals while you're the president of the United States? So we all understand disappointment in elections. Peaceful, nonviolent protests are mandatory in any healthy, functioning democracy. Again, FBI, I'm not coordinating or assisting here. I don't know these people. Armed political intimidation is defined as terrorism. I'm saying protest. Show up, show out. Bring your greatest minds, raise your voices. Show us your math and science. Don't bring guns, bring your healthcare plan. Bring your new healthcare plan. We're trying to understand you. If millions of women and children can be brave enough to walk through America protesting unarmed, mostly scared of you, you are the key demographic, statistically speaking, causing the gun rights issue by mass shootings that are forcing gun control. If women and children can be brave enough, then millions of you badass brothers together, arm in arm, 1 million strong, can march unarmed through your allotted area of free assembly. You will be protected by tax-funded security, a perimeter designed to protect you, providing you a safe space to protest and be heard if you are unarmed and peaceful. This is not the time for amateur hour. If you gather in public with combat-style weapons, it's dangerous for you, because this means public security and safety demands and requires our armed forces to surround you in combat-ready position. It's inherently dangerous by sheer proximity. A firecracker could go off accidentally. With all you guys standing there holding guns, they'd have no idea who's shooting who. You guys would be instantly decimated, vaporized. Imagine how upset Trump would be. Imagine the blow to his image's upward trajectory towards success if he lost that many supporters in one day. He'd be distraught. So be safe, be careful, be happy, be peaceful. You have a safe space, as you should. No anti-fascist will storm the beach. No billy clubs, fire hoses, attack dogs, tear gas will be released if you are unarmed and peaceful. Enjoy your protest, cook out, rock out. Again, we are trying to understand you. Thank America for letting you try your radical dream. Enjoy and respect America, or get the hell out.